I would add Prasad to stream, and here he would talk about some of the hands-on activities so that you would also understand how these things can be implemented. So let's go ahead and hear from Prasad. Prasad, you would like to share screen?
Yeah, I would share the screen. Hello, everyone. And thank you, Ashish. As always, I keep learning from you. And even if there are things that,
Thank you so much.
that I know before, but in the manner you explain it, it helps me to not only grasp, but I know that in case if I am explaining anyone, what terms and terminologies I can use to explain them. So it makes things really easy, crystal clear, as someone mentioned in the
Thank
chat.
you.
So thank you for that. Let me present my screen. I do not have dual
Yep,
screen today, so I'll be keep doing a lot of
sure.
both all tabs, but hopefully it should be fine. Share screen, and I'll share the entire screen. Hold on. Cool.
All
So
right,
I'll be
let
talking
me
today about
add this now. Yeah, it is there.
yeah. Let me talk today about the 5 things to do after creating your first AWS account. Now, I'm hoping that almost all of you have AWS account. Anyone who does not have AWS account, and will not be able to look into the chat. Hold on, let me see if I can look into the chat also. Yeah, I think I can look into the chat. Okay, guys, if you do not have AWS account, then the thing that you should be doing is create AWS free tier account. AWS free tier account. You simply sign up for it. It does ask for a credit card, and today we'll talk about how you can ensure that you do not pay anything on your free tier account. It does have a the free tier details is it's very generous. You can learn AWS without spending a dime. When I say dime, not even a single penny. It's almost zero cost, unless you are using something that is out of the free tier, and we'll mention when it will be costing you when you'll be doing few exercises. But yes, please feel free to if you are thinking about learning cloud, mandatory is that go and create your free tier account. And as you can see in the free tier, you can have Amazon EC2, which is no, I let Ashish describe Amazon EC2 when he will do it in a nice manner, because he uses great analogies, but it's just a server on the cloud, a virtual machine. And then you'll have for your storage, for your database needs, you'll have a lot of hours free for yourself, so that you can learn. So that's the first thing. And once you create your first free tier account, there are few things that you can do actually to secure your account. I would say these are the must things to do that you should be doing. Okay, anyone who has account and still using the root account, have you enabled the MFA on your root account? Will be my question. Is there anyone who has not enabled root account? And I'm doing back and forth. Okay, let me stop looking to the comments, and I'll simply I'll look into the presentation. So enabling MFA on a root account is really important, because the root account is the god of your account. He'll have access to each and everything that can be done on the account. So it is better to actually secure it by enabling the MFA. And let's see how we can do that. So when you first time log in into your console, you will not be obviously having this recently visited. This is as you start visiting it, you'll be having that. But this is how AWS console would look like, right? So what you should be doing is that from here, go to your security credentials, and then now I am logged in this as a root account, and it says that my security credentials root user and MFA is not activated for root user. It is giving me a big a warning sign. So let's do that. Let's assign a MFA, and it is really important for your root account, and in fact for your every credentials. You should be, unless it's just a programmatic credentials, it's not a user credential, you should be having MFA enabled. So assign MFA device, and I would say this is okay, there are multiple ways you can do. You can do it virtually through an authenticator app, or you can have a physical one, a security key or a hardware top. I'm going to have the virtual one. I'm syncing the authenticator app, so it is there on my mobile. I'm going to click on next, and it is giving me, like how to set it up. So here I can show the QR code, and then let me do that. Let me open my authenticator app on my mobile, and I'm going to show the QR code, and then I'm going to set it up. I'm not going to do it because then all of you will be able to see the screen, so I'm going to skip that. But that's one thing that you should be doing. Just do that, add the MFA codes through your authenticator app, and then you will be able to add MFA, and then your root account is secured through the MFA. So next time, or anyone who tries to log in through the root account, they'll be having MFA added. Now, then you need to secure your root account, means you need to ensure that your credentials are safe. Now there is a possibility that you lose, you forget about the MFA, or you lose the mobile that you have MFA. So I'll let Jamila speak about that. Jamila, would you like to come on the screen and talk about a customer experience that you had who actually lost MFA?
Thank you, Prasad. Yeah, definitely. Like before the session, we were talking together about the customer experience I had at work. So basically, when you create the root account, as Prasad already mentioned, you put there your mobile information details and how you are going to actually use the MFA to access the root account. So what happens usually, not usually, but what might happen is that in the company, let's say the person X is responsible for that root account, and one day that person decides to leave, or for whatsoever reason that person could be fired, and in that case his or her access will be disabled automatically, because everything belongs to the corporate, to the place that he or she is working. So once it happened on one of my customer sides, the person actually lost the access to everything, including the mobile phone, which means the rest of the people, the rest of the team who will need to access to the root account were not able to access, because the user who had access to MFA is not with them anymore, either left or something happened. So for that, they, of course, they approached us how to get it done, how to get it fixed. And I will not dive deep into details of the process. Of course, it's pretty confidential. I will just tell you on a high overview that it's very, very complicated and very sensitive topic in terms of security. So it's very sensitive in terms of how to fix this issue with or at AWS, because we are not responsible and we cannot go into a customer's account, just grant the access to the root account to the user, regardless of the position of that person who is asking to have access to the root. So bear in mind that once and when you're creating your root user, you must have, it's a must, that like a process in place, like a documentation that, okay, this person has access to the root account, and you better not piss off that user, basically. And just keep in mind that person, if that person leaves, or as I told my another customer, that what happens if that person dies or has an accident? What's going to happen? Do you have some process in place? So definitely keep in mind what you're going to do as a plan B if something happens. For example, when I was before joining AWS, I was also having an account, AWS account, building projects, testing some of the services. And then one day I decided to change my phone. And in my previous phone, I had some specific authenticator where the code is kind of changing. And then when I moved to the new phone, I kind of forgot about it, and I couldn't access actually my root account because I changed the phone and things left it on the previous phone, and I didn't know what to do, how to do it. So needless to say, I called AWS immediately that this is what happened. So they were able to remove the MFA access from my root account just because I was the owner. So I created the root account, I was the owner, and I explained that all the information left in my previous phone, but my mobile number was the same. So mobile number, my ID, and the reason that I created it, I was able to ask the employee who was assisting me at AWS to remove the MFA from my root account. And then before I joined AWS, I was thinking never ever again I will put MFA, because what if my phone gets lost? And I didn't know, of course, other kind of options, how to securely have a process in place for MFA. But please bear in mind, when you're creating it, you need to be careful who is having an access, what kind of access are you having, and what if something happens, what you're going to do. Because if that's someone else in your company, make sure that when that person is leaving, he or she is handling everything properly, including the root user and the MFA. So you don't chase us, we don't chase you to kind of remove the MFA. So this is an important point, and thank you, Prasad, for bringing me into the stage to share the painful experience that lots of people might go through without actually knowing it.
No, thank you so much for sharing this. And this is such an important topic, like security, like securing your account, and especially the root account. I'm reading into a few of the comments, like I'll answer a few of those while showing the demos. Is that yes, we should not be doing anything in the root account. It's very sensitive. Always create accounts. So that brings it to the second. Let me start my screen share again. And then go to the slide. That brings us to the second topic, is that anything that you would like to do is that create an administrator account and sign in with an administrator account and do with that account your activities. So let's try and do that. So whoever has created a fresh account and has not stopped using root account, please stop doing that and create a new user with administrative privileges. Now, how to do that? Create a group. You can always create a user and attach an administrator policy directly, but it's better to create a group so that you can and attach the administrator policy to the group and then assign the user to the group. So user group. And what add users. I do not have a user at this point. Attach policy. I'm going to attach administrator access. I'm going to attach the full privileges to this person. Can anyone tell me which other, access I should be providing along with the administrator access? I'm going to create group with this right now. Oops, space. But there is ideally one other policy that I should be attaching. I cannot look into the chat. Let me see if I can. I don't know how to do back and forth and looking into the chat window because I do not have the second video today. But yeah, if you know, then do type it in the chat. And once I have this group, what I'll do is that I'll create a user. Admin. Now here, enable console access. Now this is again, depending upon whether the particular user would be using CLI or not, and will be using only console or not. It depends. So this one will be using the console. So I'm going to use the console. I'm going to use a custom password. And because I'm using my own custom password and I'll be the one logging in, so I'll uncheck this box that users must create a new password at next sign in. So in case if you're providing anyone else this access, then ensure that you have this so that the user can set their own password. And for the programmatic access, you can generate access keys after you create the user. So that is mainly, we'll talk about it in a moment. Click on next. Now, you can provide the permissions either by attaching the policies directly or copying the permission from some other user or adding user to the group. Now we already have a group with administrator access. So I'm going to just add that so that now this user would be having the permissions of what the group has, and I'll create a user. Again, very basic stuff, but it's important that you do it by creating a administrator access. Now go to the show user, return to user list. You haven't, so yeah, yep, cool. Now I have a user. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to sign out from here. So that's the one thing. Like before doing anything, when you create an account, as soon as you log in, go to your security credentials, create a new user, enable the MFA on your root account so that it is secure. Create administrator user and then log back in with the administrator user. Now, when you log in, it provides two options. Either do it via root user or IAM user. So I'm going to do it via IAM user now. Now for that, you need to have the account ID, or the account alias. I'll show you how you can create account alias if you want to create account alias, but this is my account ID. Now the username is admin and correct. Yeah. Now I am in now my account using the admin user. So I'm not using my root account. Now with this, you'll be having almost like everything to do except one thing, and we'll talk about that in a moment. Now that's the second thing that we have done. Now the third thing is familiarize yourself with AWS Management Console. Obviously, you can do that with your root account, but again, first secure it and do all of the things from your admin account. Now, when I say familiarize, there are many things here. Like first of all the services, right? So here you can click here, view all services, and then you'll be able to see all the services. And as you know, AWS is famous for more and more services because we keep innovating at a very fast pace and provide what's best for our customers. You can always go to here as services and then browse from here, or if you know which service you are looking for, then you can type it here and it will be showing you those resources, like services accordingly. Now one thing that you should be thinking about is the region. Now, as Ashish mentioned, we do have multiple regions and we create or provision resources in regions. So ensure that you are in the right region, in whichever region you would like to do your work, right? And there will be few regions which are not enabled. You can enable those regions if you would like. You can go to manage regions and you can enable those regions if you would like. But by default, they'll be having few regions which will be more than enough for you to start working with. Now, let's say if you provision any EC2 or like a S3 bucket, then you'll be doing it in a specific region. Now, when you log in, if you don't go into the same region in which you have provisioned them, you will not be able to see them. There's a way to do that. I'll talk about it in a moment. So yeah, let's talk about that only. So if I go to EC2, then let's say right now I do not have anything provisioned. It will show me blank. But let's say if it was there in some other region, let's say London region, then I'll not be able to see it if I'm in some other region. Now, but there is a way to do that. Now, focus search. Anyone aware of this focus search? That's one thing that if you're not aware of, go and have a read, but then you can go to the resources. Now, let's say if I focus on resources and I click here, resources. Now here in the resources, hold on, let me close this. Let me go back here to the original, and then let me again do this. Focus search. Now, let's say if I do resources here, it will show me resources here. Go here in the resources and go and read about this Resource Explorer if you have not done it already. Now, Resource Explorer is going to help you efficiently search for and discover your resources across AWS regions, right? And it talks about how it works. You need to first set it up. So you need to first go to and set it up. And once you set it up, then you'll be able to do that. And then there is a way to use tagging and stuff to track your resources. Cool. That's like just to familiarize. Now, one thing other is that you can obviously kind of customize your home view. There is add widgets. Now, if you see your home view, there is a recently visited, then we have welcome to AWS, AWS health, cost and usage, so on and so forth. Now you can customize this. For example, you can add widgets. And let's say I want to add widgets about the favorites. I click on favorites and I click on add. It says that added the widgets. You can find it at the bottom of the console. I want to always see the favorites at the top. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to hold this. I'm going to bring it up. Oh, come on, close this. And then I'm going to bring this up to the top. So this is my favorites. I do not have any favorite services. How can I do that? Okay, I'll go here. Let's say there's a EC2 here. So, or I can, if I search EC2 and I'm using EC2, then I can always mark it as favorite. Let's say other one would be IAM. I'll mark it as favorite. If you work a lot with databases, you go to RDS. It's up to you, whichever. And then you will be having your favorites. So whenever you would be coming into your console home, you'll be having your favorites in front of you. So you can customize your console home. Feel free to reset it if you don't like it and then start again. Okay, that was mainly a quick upon how you can familiarize yourself. And there is a link here, working with console. It gives you more in depth about how you can work with your console. Let's move on to the next one. Create a password policy. Now this is a good one. Now, okay, let's read through this first of all. I created a password right now when creating a user. Now, I did not provide any password policy yet. So the default password policy that kicks in is that it should be minimum 8 characters and maximum of this, minimum of these, kind of mix should be there. It should not be identical to AWS account name or alias, and never expire password. So password does not expire. So, but say if you want to have a rotation, like you want password to expire every 30 days, how would you do that? Now you have your favorite IAM, go to your IAM. And again, we do have a full session on IAM that Ashish will go into the basics. I'm not going to go into the basics right now. I'm going to just set a few things. Now see, it does tell me all the recommendations that my MFA root user, MFA is not enabled on root user. For this particular, it's not enabled. Your admin does not have any active access keys, which is good. So it does give you a glimpse about these, what you think should be doing so that your account is secure. Now here, there should be somewhere the password policy. Hold on, where is it? Oh. Okay, account alias. In case if you want to create account alias, okay, why do you need account alias? Because when you log in, you always need to remember this account ID, right? Or even for the URL, there is a sign-in URL that you want. So you can use, instead of account ID, if you want to create an account alias, that you can do that here quickly, right? And for the password, let's go to the user. And the user, I'm not able to remember where does the security credentials.
Prasad, can you check into the account setting on the left side?
Oh, yes, you're right. In the settings, right?
No, not this one. In the IAM console itself, if you see user groups roles in the below, there is a account setting below identity provider. Yeah, here.
Oh yeah, here it is. Thank you, Ashish.
You're welcome, sir.
Yeah. So here it is, account policy. Now you can click on edit here, and then this is the IAM default that is there. But if you want to create custom, then you can create custom, select which one you would like. And in case if you want to turn on password rotation, you can tell that you need to expire it in every 30 days so that you ensure that you're keeping your account secure. By default, the turn on password expiration is not there. If you go to IAM default, it's never expire password. So that's another thing. Now, I know we are up on time, but there is one thing that I would like to definitely cover, which is configuring the AWS budget actions. Now, if you are creating your free tier account, then you would be worried about that, the bill should not come, right? And how we can do that. Now, for that, I'll go and I'm going to billing dashboard. Now, this is where it will say that I do not have the access to it. Oh, okay, I do have access to it because I would have enabled that. Now, here, there are two things you need to do to, enable this. And it is mentioned here in this link here in the budget actions, and it's a full tutorial about how you should be doing that. But once you are here, what you should be doing is go to your budgets. Now, has anyone, I know few of you might have created a billing alert and budget actions, but has anyone used user template? Now we have new templates, that is zero spend budget. It automatically creates your budget with an action to zero spend. All you have to do is simply say that which email, this is my email, so I'm going to do that, and then just create budget. Now we created a budget so that as soon as it reaches this, it's going to tell me. So we have tried to make it simplify, right? So if I click on edit here and I want to edit it, I can always do that. Or let's do one thing. Let's create a new budget. Or instead of using a template, there are multiple templates, monthly cost budget, and so on and so forth that you want to use. We can create a custom budget, and I'll use a cost budget to create one. Now, again, you have the data about how you can set up your budget and stuff and the cost data preview. Then monthly budget or a daily budget or a quarterly budget that you would like. And it shows the recurring budget, start month, budgeting method, whether it's a fixed or the planned one or auto adjusting, like, every month is going to adjust based on the usage of pattern. Budget amount, let's say I'm going to keep it as 10. That's the max I would like to spend. And the scope, you want to know the spend of all the services or a specific services that you want to see that, my compute should not go beyond this. And then there is some advanced options about the tax and stuff you can use. Click on next. Now the budget alerts, how the alert is going to work. Now you can add an alert threshold. Now alert threshold would be that, let's say 80% of my threshold has reached, whether it is actual or forecasted, you can create. So even if it is forecasted, if you want to know that before it reaches 80%, I should be knowing it as soon as, it gets forecasted, click on that. Again, give your email ID. And then you can add more alerts if you would like, even an SNS alert or a chatbot alert in case if you want to integrate with your Slack or something or Chime, you can always do that. Click on next. Oops. Okay. Click on next. You can always review it. And then create the budget. So this will help you actually to stay on top of your, a budget or any spend that you're going to do. But I love this, templates. So go ahead and feel free to use this free template so that you get to know that you're not spending anything at all while you're using the free tier account. Or at least you will get to, you'll get a notification as soon as it might be that you might spend $1. That's pretty much, I know we are 5 minutes ahead time, but this is like, the 5 things that you should be doing. One other thing that you should be doing definitely is configuring your AWS CLI. And this, I'll let you guys do it. And if you have not already done it, here is the link that how you can do it. And going ahead in the activities that we'll be doing it mainly through console to show it, but a lot of things will be required to be done via CLI. And Ashish is great at showing the demos while doing the CLIs. So while even, he'll be covering a lot of topics, he will be doing it via CLI. So ensure that you do configure your CLI. That's pretty much that I had to show. Now let me stop my screen share, go to the chat and see if there is any questions.
Thank you, Prasad. It was interesting. And these are like very, very first step which everyone should take care for their account. Know what may, like whatever you are using for production, personal use, or maybe for your any pet project, please do these 5 things to be on top of the things. You should not be reactive. You should be proactive when it comes to account security. So always follow these best practices. And there are a lot of templates available which you could use, like Prasad has shown you. And there are documentation too, like say these 5 things are the important one, or 10 things you should do. So we would put them into resource section, and you will have a better idea on how all these things work. Questions pretty much addressed. There was a question on, will a user have access to one region only? I would say it depends on the policy you assign to him or her. You could say, hey, I want to give everything, or you could say, hey, I want to give you only Ireland access because you are only allowed to access that. So that can all happen. All
It's a
right.
very granular level thing that you can control through the
Exactly.
IAM. We'll cover that topic in the IAM section.
We will
That
talk about that.
granular you can go,
Exactly.